You're listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life, hosted by TravCon. Welcome to the Exhibitor Minute of the Travel Nursing and Allied Life podcast. With me is Brian Dean. He is the Global Sales Director for Wyndham Hotels and Resorts and has been with them for the last 14 years. He will also be sharing with us a coupon code for discounts on Wyndham Hotels. So stay tuned for that later in the podcast. Welcome, Brian, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. I greatly appreciate it.
You were at TravCon last year, I believe, and you were on our housing panel. That must have been probably for many people, it was one of the first events where they'd actually gone out social in quite some time. How did it feel for you?
It was a great experience. My first time at TravCon, so I was very excited, and it didn't disappoint. It was great to see people in person, and just an overall great experience. A little nerve-wracking getting up on stage, of course, but it was a packed house, and it was a good time.
Excellent. The housing panel or any housing talk at TravCon is consistently super, super busy. Years ago when I started, 70% of the housing was done by the travel company. The travelers didn't have to worry about it. And it's flipped. So I think I would say as a guest, 70 to 80% of the travelers are doing their own housing now. Sure. So it's really come into play, and it's great to see some housing exhibitors at the conference able to offer some things for the travelers to come.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that, you go to schooling for nursing. You don't go to schooling for lodging and other things. So when it's given to you to do on your own, there's probably a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. Yes.
Yeah.
I had so much fun looking up Wyndham. They're in 110 countries. Yep. You've got 6 resorts in Las Vegas alone. I had no idea. Yeah. You've got 220 properties and over 4,300 are affiliated through RCI. I had no idea you had that affiliation.
Yeah, so it's a somewhat of a loose affiliation, but it is an affiliation, definitely. So we have Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, and then we also have Wyndham Vacations, which is our timeshare side. And it's funny, a lot of nurses came up and mentioned, oh, we're an owner, we're a timeshare owner, which is great. Another great option. If they're traveling, they can use their timeshare points through RCI and through Wyndham Vacations to redeem and stay at one of our vacation locations. But I predominantly work for the hotel side of things, but yes, we're sister companies.
That's really good. There are a lot of people that do have a timeshare and they want to be able to use it. So good to know that you can do both RCI and Wyndham while you're doing that. Excellent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Wyndham Hotels and Resorts is a huge hotel network, and you encompass many brands, as I can see some of them right behind you on your backdrop there. That's great. Tell us about Wyndham and what hotel properties might be most recognizable to the healthcare travelers in the U.S.
Sure thing. So Wyndham is the largest hotel company in the world in way of, we have over 9,000 properties around the world, just over 6,000 here in the United States, in brands that you're probably pretty familiar with. Some have been around forever. Some are one of the original hotel franchise brands, such as Howard Johnson, which is one of the oldest brands, such as Super 8, Days Inn, Microtel. We're fairly heavy in the value brand segment, as well as mid-scale, such as La Quinta Hotels, American, Ramada, Baymont, Wingate, and we have an extended stay brand, Hawthorne. So those 3 segments alone, the mid-scale, value, and then extended stay, are going to be really the brands that a lot of the travelers are looking for, because obviously they're well priced, as well as there are thousands of locations around the U.S. and chances are just within 10 minutes of where they need to be. We also have some great lifestyle and upscale options, such as Tryp hotels, which, if you're not familiar, there's a good couple dozen in the United States that are really boutique style, located in downtown centers. There's Wyndham full service, Wyndham Grands and Dolces. Dolces are are more rural, but resorts, golf resorts, things like that. So we got a good mix. And
You have a really good mix. Yeah.
yeah, of the brands that I think that one of the locations that I think the nurses might know the most is, if you don't mind, if I'll share something real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind, we have PT, OT, RT, SLP. We got a lot of allied health as well.
Yeah. So this property is one that I wanted to point out. It's the famous New Yorker. It's a very historical building and hotel in the heart of Manhattan. And the reason I point this one out is this property, especially during COVID, housed, well, you see there's 1,000 rooms there. They at one point had well over 800 rooms occupied with nurses. So they've seen thousands of nurses come and go over the last 2 years. So depending on which assignment you take and so forth, they were a key player with the COVID need in New York City. So that's definitely one that a lot of people.
And just for those who are listening on the podcast and they can't see this, it's a really unique hotel. It looks like a bank vault there that goes into a lounge. That's really cool. If you want to check it out, you can find it on our YouTube channel if you're listening to this on the podcast. And it looks like it's a 1-minute walk to Madison Square Garden. That would be amazing. Yeah,
it's a great location, historical site. They got that bank vault is in their basement restaurant. It's a nice steak restaurant. They have other great options there, but you can't beat it.
That's fantastic. Okay. I saw 24-hour diner. That's very helpful, especially if you're doing night shift or anything like that.
Exactly. So
travelers might be looking for ones most of the time for 2 to 3 months. Sometimes it's only a month their assignment, but typically it's the 13-week assignment. What types of hotels should they be looking for that might have some kitchens in the rooms where they can prepare some of their meals?
Sure. So the one to really look for, the one brand we have is our Hawthorne brand. Our Hawthorne is our designed extended stay mid-scale property. So they're the ones with kitchenettes or full kitchen options, some with even 2-room type suites, a little more space, built for the extended stay traveler. Now, we have about 85 of those locations, properties around the US, more coming because that segment is just booming. There's a lot of demand for that extended stay properties. Hotel investors realize, all right, that's the move in the future. So much that we are actually working on a brand new economy brand that hasn't been announced. Well, it's been shared that we're working on it, but a name hasn't been announced yet. But we are going to be developing another extended stay economy option that's going to be perfect for traveling nurses. More to come on that.
Okay. And are your hotels relatively close to a hospital wherever they're located? Are they in towns with good proximity?
Yes. For the most part. I mean, we still have, of all the brands, for the Hawthorns, that's typically something they look for when they build, because they know that's a big segment of people who are going to want to stay for quite a while are traveling nurses. So they want to be near a hospital, near easy access freeways and so forth. But we also get a tremendous amount of people who utilize Days Inn and Super 8 and La Quintas simply because they'll have an occasional room that some of those hotels will have 1 or 2 suite options.
Okay.
But even without that, we find that the location is still the key. Mm-hmm. So they would, a lot of travelers, if they're staying for 13 weeks, they will utilize the microwave and refrigerator and make do simply because it's such a great location. It's a good price, it's a good product, and so forth.
Very cool. A lot of travelers also travel with their pets. And do you typically have a standard pet policy across the board, or is it vary from hotel to hotel?
Good choice of words and standard. We are working on that, but we are a very pet-friendly company, but our policies we're working on improving and standardizing currently. That's a project I have going on right now, so that we can, across the board, somewhat say this, this, and this. But for the most part, we are very pet-friendly in that, yes, we allow pets. We're working on the little things such as, okay, if there is a fee, what is the fee? Let's try to standardize that. Let's put a cap on it. For the most part, let's not, is it the maximum weight of a pet 50 pounds, 60 pounds? We're just trying to standardize all of that. That, as you can imagine, is a challenge with 6,000 plus hotels.
Absolutely.
And various ownerships and so forth. But we are pet friendly for the most part. We have a few properties that just simply can't do it.
Yeah.
As for example, unfortunately, the New Yorker in downtown New York, they're just Manhattan. They're not very pet friendly. But for the most part, yes.
And when you say pets, I mean, dogs are typically the ones that are allowed. How about cats? Does that ever come up?
Rarely, it's rarely an issue, I should say. For some reason, the dogs are the standard, but majority of the properties do not have an issue with cats or even birds. I get requests all day long, well, not all day long, but occasionally for snakes and other rodents and other things that people want to bring too. So
wow.
We're pretty flexible and we've seen it all, but it's typically dogs and cats are not an issue.
Okay, perfect. Good to know. Airbnbs have been very popular in the last several years, and they fit a good niche, especially if you have a family or you want a little bit more of accommodation. But I have to admit, over the years, I've been very frustrated with their lack of refund policy. And if your plans change, you just can't change an Airbnb without getting heavily penalized. And to me, that's one of the benefits of booking in a hotel is a little bit more flexibility, a lot more flexibility with booking and canceling. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That's exactly right. Airbnb has some benefits, and it's great when you know your dates and they're solid and it's not going to change, and you're okay paying a large fee up front and so forth. The hotel option is great simply because the cancellation fees are typically 24 hours or even 6 p.m. Day of arrival. If you need to adjust, you need to change, you need to extend, they're flexible. You're looking at a hotel that has 100 rooms. So if you need to extend your stay, there's a good chance that won't be an issue. Where if you need to extend your stay at an Airbnb, they're already booked. They got someone else coming in the next day. You got to go.
Or even an apartment. I had issues where I wanted to extend and I couldn't because the apartment was booked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's also the charging amount. You can work with a hotel and say, hey, I just want to charge me once a week. Don't give me a lump amount. Just charge me every Monday. And that should be no problem at all.
Oh, that's good to know. Good. Do you have a centralized booking system, or do you book through each hotel separately? How does that work?
Sure. We have both. We have both options, but we would prefer to utilize the centralized booking system. So either online or our 1-800 number is ideal. And the reason why is we actually, if you don't mind me, share my screen again.
Sure.
Is we actually have national discounts established for TravCon attendees.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So perfect little segue there. So these discounts we've established that are mirror to the discounts we typically provide all the traveling nursing companies that you contract with. So whether it be whoever iHealthcare or whoever you take an assignment with, they're going to get the same discount that we offer TravCon attendees. So we just thought, you know what, instead of them having to memorize and go through their programs, it's the same discount. And they can utilize it by simply calling the 1-800 number and ask for the TravCon rate. Or we have a link that I think is the best way. Just go online, say this is one of your favorites, and it's got the code, the TravCon code associated to it, so it pulls up the discounts automatically.
That's perfect. We will put that link in the notes below if you want to take advantage of that discount. So just check it out on the podcast or the YouTube.
Perfect.
Just for those who cannot see the screen and they're listening to the podcast, it's 15% off for short stays of 1 to 4 nights, 18% off for 5 to 13 nights. And anytime you stay over 2 weeks, 14 days, it's 22% off. So thank you very much. That's great. When I was checking you out online, I had no idea that you have a marketing partnership with Caesars Hotels.
We do. We do, and it's an improving and growing partnership. Our rewards program, for example, which is another award-winning Wyndham Rewards, is a phenomenal program. We have partnered to allow that Caesars Rewards and Wyndham's Rewards you can collect, you can cross over. If we work with Caesars on groups and things like that, I'm still identifying the discount option. They should show up with the discounts as well. I apologize, I didn't look into that before, but it literally is just it's just evolving. It's still in the progress, but some amazing things are happening with that partnership, though.
And just going back to what you said, something about your Caesars reward points will work on your Wyndham account.
Yeah. So if you go to a Caesars property, you can assign your Wyndham rewards. You can link it to your Caesars rewards, and then they would transfer the points over to the Wyndham account. And I believe vice versa. You can utilize, if you stay at a Wyndham, you can put it onto your Caesars, link it to your Caesars account. So
wow, that's really cool. Yeah. So you're not going to double dip, right? You don't get both points. It's one or the other.
It's one or the other. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really good to know. You know, we're very familiar with Caesars hotels because in Vegas, we started off Strip actually, but very quickly within the first year, we moved to Flamingo. Yeah. Stayed there quite a few years, moved over to the Rio. Mm-hmm. And then, people didn't like being off Strip. So we came back to the Strip and went to Planet Hollywood. Uh-huh. And then we kept outgrowing the spaces. We moved on to Bally's, which was great. That was a lot of space. But we've now upgraded to the Paris Hotel, which we love. It's just a beautiful facility and it's larger and it's more spacious. It let us really be able to spread out with COVID. Yeah. So that was really nice. The rooms are really nice. So that's good to know. I'll put that in the notes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't beat that location as well.
So I have a surprise question for you. You have a lot of really nice hotels, and I noticed that many of them have large conference facilities, potentially able to host a TravCon. Mm-hmm. Now, if you could pick a destination that you would like TravCon to be at, what destination would you suggest or put on your wish list that TravCon would be able to do? Because travelers are always asking, why don't you move around? We're a traveling conference. And we've picked Vegas over and over because it just is unbeatable for the size that we need. And then for the flexibility of the room rates. If they can't afford a Paris room, they can go anything in town. So it's just been unbeatable for flights and location and everything. Yeah. But I always like to dream, and I'm always checking out cities and locations and hotels. Do you have a suggestion that Wyndham might have that could house TravCon?
Sure. Put me on the spot here. Okay. If I'm going to dream, our Rio Mar property in San Juan, Puerto Rico would be the one if I'm going to dream.
Oh, the travelers would love that.
It's an amazing property that was devastated by hurricanes years ago, but it's been rebuilt and it's just amazing. There's a wonderful golf course. There's a lot of meeting space. Yeah, if that's going to be that would be the top of my list.
And what was the name of it?
Rio Mar.
Rio Mar.
Rio Mar in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And the nice thing is, no passports needed. So that's nice as well. My second choice would be our Wyndham Grand Clearwater Beach. You might have a hard time getting attendees to go because they're going to be wanting to be on the beach all day. But
yes, that's the hard part is where is Clearwater Beach?
Near Tampa.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's an amazing property as well. Yeah, you put me on the spot there, but I have a few options I can definitely help you with.
You know, we like to dream, we like to make anything possible, and it would be really, really cool to be able to host it somewhere else.
Yeah, sign me up.
Excellent. Brian, I want to go back to a line of hotels that you touched on early in the podcast. And I was really tickled to look at those hotels. Sometimes travelers, they'll stay sort of in the lower end hotels because they're affordable for their assignment, but they want to live it up when they're on vacation. And one of the hotels I found pretty exciting was your Tryp line of hotels. And it's unique spelling, Tryp. And it really seemed to be, I've stayed at Moxie's and I've stayed at a Lofts. We stayed in one that was beautiful in somewhere in Asia. And it really seems to be along that line, very urban, modern, millennial focused, but a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about your Tryp line.
You somewhat summarized it perfectly. They are typically located in downtown areas in thriving markets that are just fast-paced and cool and hip and all that stuff. For example, our Tryp Manhattan property is one that I definitely recommend people taking a look at. It is just all the modern features that you would imagine, and but not too over the top, but just fun and great food options. We have some great Tryp locations around the world that I definitely would recommend.
They looked amazing. They looked really, as you mentioned, hip, I think is really the word that qualifies them. So, for the travelers who are looking to go on vacation and they want to stay in a really fun hotel where they're feeling very, lots of people, lots of social areas, lots of good location downtown, fun spots, check out the Tryp hotels. Those look like a lot of fun, Tryp. And does the coupon code you gave us, does that extend to the Tryp hotels as well?
It absolutely does. We have additional services that we provide healthcare travelers, similar to a few of our other brands, or our competitors, I should say, in that we have created our extended stay solutions desk. And what that is this is someone that any of the healthcare travelers could reach out to collect receipts, for example. Let's say they stay and they leave and they didn't get a receipt for some reason, and instead of having to call the hotel and be placed on hold or anything like that, they can a simple email and we'll get that over to them. If they have an assignment that a hotel they found is just perfect for them, but it's sold out, is there any way we can, I'd love to stay there. We want to help with that. We'd reach out to the property on your behalf and see what we can do to squeeze you in. If there are extensions needed, you take an additional assignment, you want to add on to your assignment, instead of having to go to the hotel to deal with or anything, send us that information. And it's a simple email at ess@wyndham.com. And we have a team there ready to go and ready to help.
So it's basically your own personal concierge for longer stay healthcare travelers.
It kind of is. I
love it.
Yeah. It's working great. People are loving it. It's a lot of help.
Yeah, that's great. That's very convenient to have. We'll put that email in the notes down below as well. ess@wyndham.com. So that's great. Thank you very much for making it a little easier for the healthcare travelers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us, Brian. We look forward to seeing you again at TravCon this year. There will also be a housing discussion, again, talking about the different places on what options there are, but they can find you directly at a booth at TravCon. So we look forward to seeing you then.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Travel Nursing and Allied Life. You can find the full show notes below or at travcon.org. Please help us out by rating our podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.